What is up, everyone, and good morning. It is 8:30 a.m. on Saturday, December 13th, and I have a very special video for you guys today. This is actually a really interesting video on a very interesting topic, talking about SpaceX and space stocks in general. Now, if you guys don't know, earlier this week, SpaceX set a $800 billion valuation for a 2026 IPO. I've seen rumors where this is getting all the way up to $1.5 trillion for their valuation, which first of all is absolutely insane. They only make about $15 billion a year in revenue. So that is an insane multiple, but I do want to talk about some opportunities that we can find within the market, because if you are seeing a space stock like SpaceX set a valuation at 800 to $1.5 trillion, we can go find other space stocks that are probably doing something very similar to SpaceX, just maybe on a smaller scale. Look for them to catch up, so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to go over today. Now, before I do get in this video, as this is going to be very fast paced and informational, I do ask that you guys always leave a like and subscribe. Also, we have our premium capped at 250 members, but we're going to be opening spots come New Year. So if you guys are wanting a spot, shoot me a DM by clicking our first link in our description, joining up on our Discord, shooting me a DM over there, and we'll get you over there on that wait list. Now, let's go ahead and check out some of these space stocks. So first, I do want to talk about SpaceX and their valuation. Obviously, I have a bunch of different sources here, but you can see Bloomberg, one of the most credible ones here. SpaceX sets $800 billion valuation, confirms 2026 IPO plans. You guys can also see by Space, whatever this source is, SpaceX plans to go public in 2026, seeks $1.5 trillion valuation. Now, I've seen that other places. I don't think that's possible. There is one down here by The Guardian that says they're looking for a $1.7 trillion valuation. And guys, that is so far gone. These SpaceX in general is not worth a lick of $1.5 trillion. This company is maybe worth maybe 100 billion, maybe. And obviously nobody knows that much about SpaceX yet, but I do want to talk about some other companies that actually have some decent credibility. So this isn't exactly a space or rocket stock, but this is a space stock. So this is ASTS right here. We have been playing ASTS, and over the past 2 weeks, guys, we are up 64% on ASTS. Now, we saw a bit of a pullback on Friday, so we are only up 46%. But in 2 weeks, up 46%, that's not bad. And we've played ASTS quite a lot over the past couple of years here. So I do first want to show you guys exactly the position that we're in. So we went ahead and bought in at $52, and currently the price is at 77, and it was all the way up to around 85. So this is what our position looks like from premium and from our alert. We're up about $23 right there. So we're looking really, really good on that. But what I am really looking at talking about in today's video is talking about how these stocks can catch up. Okay, so we're looking for AST to catch up. If SpaceX is going to be worth $1.5 trillion or even 800 billion, we can see right now that ASTS is worth $28.18 billion, meaning ASTS is probably going to have to catch up. And now, whatever that means for ASTS, whether that is them going to $800 billion in valuation, or even 500 or 400 or 200 or 100 or whatever that looks like, we are going to see some kind of catch up once we see SpaceX actually go live at 800 billion in valuation. So I'm looking for a good pullback to really get a lot of shares. And I'll talk to you guys a little bit more about what I end up making my decision, because there's another stock that I really, really like and I already own a good bit of. But looking here, we can see ASTS has really, really great structure. This is the same play that we've been in. We bought off the 200 EMA. We have done it before, and we'll do it again. So we got to buy here. We got to buy here. We got to buy here. We've absolutely killed this name. We ended up selling up here, etc., etc., etc. So we're going to look to get a sell off at 116, and realistically, we might not even trim. This might be a position that I'm now going to hold for the long term, because I can say, hey, if SpaceX is looking to go, public at $800 billion, I do not think that ASTS is going to be, second or third place at 28 billion. I think that they're going to be second or third place at 200 billion, 300 billion, 400 billion, 500 billion maybe. And I'm not saying that these names are going to go there, but I'm just saying mathematically that makes sense. If you see companies like Robinhood and SoFi, okay? Decently similar companies, right? Yes, Robinhood is a clear one right now at about $100 billion. But over the past couple of months, SoFi has began to catch up. They're closing that gap. Same with Bitcoin and Ethereum. I know that they're still very, very vast, but you're going to see that second place stock or asset or whatever it may be catch up, okay? So things like that is what you really need to look for, and that is why I am so interested in this. Another example, NVIDIA and AMD. Okay, NVIDIA has been on this crazy, crazy run, and yes, NVIDIA is the better stock, right? And they have the better financials. SpaceX is probably going to have the better financials, the better stock. I think the valuation is insane, but nonetheless, take a look at NVIDIA and then take a look at AMD. Now, over the past 3 months, over the past 6 months, and over the past year, AMD has outperformed NVIDIA. I understand over the last 20 years that AMD has gotten crushed by NVIDIA, but over the past 6 months, you are starting to see that gap close. Not by much, but you're starting to see that gap close. And that is what I'm really playing here. So we can see with ASTS, my next target is going to be 116, which is up 95% from most of our entries. Now, we did get most entries at around $59, but we did get our original entry at $53. So if you did get an entry there, you'll be up 119%. So a really good entry there. And then our next target is going to be 157 to the 1618 extension, up around 163%. So from price to today, that's still a really good increase of about 100% here. And then for our first target, that is still a good increase of about 50%. So you're still looking really, really good. I'm still very interested in this stock. I want to see ASTS under $70 if I'm going to look to add heavier. But I do quickly want to jump over to the other stock that I want to talk about, which is going to be Rocket Lab, and then we'll kind of jump back and forth and back and forth because I do want to show you the way that these do compare. Okay, so they're not very they're very, very different, but they're very, very similar. So they have similar price action, but they do two very different things. Rocket Lab is a rocket company. They are working on getting their Neutron project, which is a rocket. They're looking to get that into space and do whatever they need to do with that. I believe that they are doing they're doing a bunch of different stuff with getting storage out to space, getting other storage related stuff. I can't even explain it. They're just working on getting stuff to space, not necessarily humans, but everything else. Okay, so people are worried about how are we going to get humans to space, but Rocket Lab's worried about how are we going to get everything else to space. So that's a really, really interesting way of going about this. And then really quickly, ASTS is more a uh, telecommunications company. Basically, they have a satellite type system which works out in space. Obviously, this stuff is way beyond my pay grade, but obviously, this stuff is very, very interesting. I think ASTS is going to be um, in my opinion, I think ASTS is going to end up being more profitable. I think that Rocket Lab is farther along, but I think ASTS will end up being more profitable just going off what their business is. I don't know how profitable rockets and stuff are going to be yet. No one does. But it does sound like it's going to take a lot of manufacturing costs. But for ASTS, they should be able to get those satellites or whatever they call them in the air. And once those are in the air, they shouldn't really have to do a whole lot. So I think that their cost will be a little bit better than Rocket Lab. But anyways, here is Rocket Lab, and I use this as an example for buying under the 200 EMA because this is what I've been doing. I have around 136 shares left of Rocket Lab, and I'm up around 260% on them right now. My average price is $19.65. So we have been doing really, really well. But you guys can see this is just a quick lesson on buying under the 200 EMA. Look how well you have done if you can buy under the 200 EMA on a stock like Rocket Lab. And you guys can see also on a stock like ASTS where you guys buy right at these 200 EMAs and a little bit under. Okay, so these are all our buys right here. So, anyways, really, really good stuff here. Rocket Lab is another great one. If you guys want to know how I measure these kind of moves, what I'm going to do here is go from the low to the high, back to the low. So we can see our targets here are going to be 97 and 134. So let's say from our accumulation box, that's about a 160% increase and then about a 258% increase. Oh my God. And let me see what that is for my average price, 263. Boys, I'm about to make it back. Oh my God, you guys got me going crazy here. Okay, so we have our targets for Rocket Lab. Very, 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 very simple. Okay, from a low to a high with your Fibonacci extensions, you're buying under the 200 EMA every single opportunity that you can. And so far, we are up 75% in about 2 weeks on Rocket Lab as well. But our first target is going to be $97 and 134. And once again, with both of our charts that we have pulled up now, you guys can see that even though we might see some you know they might be overpriced in the short term, we are still seeing a very, 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 very reasonable price for the long term if SpaceX is going to go for a valuation like we are seeing. I mean, if SpaceX is seriously going to be worth, 800 to 1 trillion or 1.5 or 1.7 trillion dollars, these companies are going to catch up. Like Rocket Lab is worth 32.85 billion. So it's slightly bigger than ASTS right now. But I still believe that both of these stocks are if SpaceX IPOs at $800 billion, I can tell you guys right now that both of these companies are worth more than 100 billion. Very, very easy. Very, very easy. And that's a 2x from here for both of them. From 30 billion, you double it 60 billion, double it 90 billion, and then you get half of that again once you get to 100 billion. That's a very, very easy thing to understand and realize, and this is what you have to look for in the market. I don't know if I'm using the right word here, but it'd be more. This would be a form of your derivatives, where you're seeing a lot of of flow into one stock, and then you're seeing the drip to all the other stocks. Okay, so SpaceX is up here, and it's the golden child or whatever, but the golden child's not going to eat all the food. So some of that food is going to get passed down, and then some of that's going to get passed down, some of that's going to get passed down, so on and so forth. And just like anything else, there is room for multiple businesses. SpaceX isn't going to have a monopoly on day one. It's not going to have a monopoly at all. It could and most likely will be the best space stock, but it will not have a monopoly. There will be other competitors, and I believe that these are two big competitors for SpaceX, really because these are the only two competitors. There's not many other space stocks out there that are doing much of anything, if anything good at all. And I believe that both Rocket Lab and ASTS are on the right track. While we don't know much about rockets or space in general yet, overall, these look very, very good. Now, this is really all I had for this video for you guys. I just want to make a quick breakdown because I'm very, very interested, and I think that this is a very, very good point to make, that we are going to see these stocks continue higher if SpaceX is really going to get this valuation. And I believe that they can because somehow Elon gets his way, whatever you're going to go with. If we really get this valuation, we're really going to see the price for these two stocks take off. And I do think that these are both going to be a better buy than SpaceX. I will not be buying SpaceX at 800 billion. I will be most likely shorting SpaceX if they IPO at 1.5 to 1.7 trillion dollars. That's absolutely insane for a company that only makes $15 billion in revenue. But the point is here, these companies can catch up, both Rocket Lab and ASTS. And now, while this is not financial advice, I do see both of these companies, seeing a very large multiple in the future. I see both of these companies realistically getting over $200 within the next 2 years, possibly the next year, just based off of their valuation in comparison to SpaceX. This makes a lot of sense. The more you think about it, the more you understand it. Go look at other stocks where you can compare the same sector. Like I said, Nvidia and AMD. Nvidia outperforms forever, and it's worth 5 trillion. Okay, but AMD has been outperforming for the past 6 months, and it's only worth 400 billion, meaning that it can catch up at a much faster rate, and that is the one that you want to go with. You want to go with the lagger. You don't want to be the first one in the boat, but you want to be on the boat. You know what I'm saying? So this is a really interesting topic. That is all I have for you guys today. Make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments down below what you guys' opinion is on this. I feel like this is a very, very interesting opinion. But overall, let me know what your opinions are on this, and let me know if you guys want to see any other videos in relation to something like this in the future. All right, boys. Well, y'all have a good one. Check out the two videos that are on each side of me right now, and I'll see y'all later.